Hi, everyone. Welcome to DevRunner. My name is Paul, and this is episode 10 of Subscriber Spotlight, where I talk to amazing, inspiring runners to help motivate you on your running journey. Today, my guest is an amazingly fast vegetarian. He's a fellow YouTuber hailing from the UK. He's known to everyone as the FOD or Forest of Dean runner, and today it is my privilege to speak with Andy Raynor. I guess we're just going to get right into it at this point. Welcome, Andy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. Super excited to talk to you today. Yes, absolute pleasure. Can't wait to dive in.
That's awesome. So yeah, just to do that, let's just get right into it. And I'm hoping you can provide all the viewers with just a short bio, who you are, where you're from, anything else you'd like to share.
So, as you said, my name's Andy Raynor. I'm based over in the UK, in the Forest of Dean, which is a beautiful part of the UK over on the west side, very, very close to the Welsh border. And I have the privilege of running on some incredible trails with some incredible scenery. I'm very, very lucky. And along the way, I love to document my journey as well on my YouTube channel, document my training, my shoes, my testing, my how-to videos, everything that goes into it. And yeah, I've been running now for 6.5 years coming up to, which is awesome. It's been sort of, I guess, compared to a lot of people, a shorter running journey, but I'm absolutely loving it and I just can't wait to continue it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So just to kind of move backwards a little bit in time, before you were a runner, what was your athletic background?
So I used to play football, soccer, for you guys over there. So yeah, I played that I played that all my childhood. Had to have a break around the age of 14 to 17. For some of you who may or may not know, I'm 6'6". I'm really tall, and I developed something called Osgood Schlatters, which is basically very painful growing pains in your knees, and you get lumps under your kneecaps that become super sensitive. And any impact sport, I just had to stop for about 3 years until the bones stopped growing. Everything settled down, the inflammation settled down, and I was able to crack on again. And then from about 17 to 18, probably it was part-time football, so just played a match on a Saturday, trained on a Tuesday night, and did that until I was 27.
Wow.
No, 28. So fitness, although I was regularly playing football, fitness wasn't great. Twice a week training wasn't good. So I dabbled in 2 half marathons back in 2007, just just off the back of being a student. Did 2 runs a week training for those, had a bit of fun, did not enjoy them at all, stopped running, and then decided that we started a family. And I realised that football was not fitting in with the family because of away matches, having to travel. A lot of my Saturdays were spent away from the family. So I decided to try and keep myself fit, but doing something that would fit in with the family a little bit better. And that's where running came in. So I started that as a New Year's resolution on January the 1st, 2015. And I have not kicked a football since, and I have just run.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So what helped you turn the corner from somebody who ran 2 half marathons, didn't like it, to somebody who really was all about it?
I watched and got super inspired by the London 2012 Olympics, and that was obviously 3 years before I started running. But we had something over here. I don't know if you guys are that aware of it over there, but we had something called Super Saturday over here, where we had a lady called Jessica Ennis win the heptathlon, decathlon, I can't remember what it was now. It's okay. That good, I've forgotten. And we had a chap called Greg Rutherford who won the long jump, a gold medal on the Saturday, and then Mo Farah, who I think that night it was a 5,000 or the 10,000, I can't remember, but he sealed his double. Which one it was. He sealed his double on that day, and so it was dubbed as Super Saturday here in the UK. And I remember watching Mo and the kick at the end and the win, and just like, do you know what? I really should give running another chance. But the problem was, at that age, my kids were 3. My youngest were 3 and 1, so I was finding it very hard. It's a very demanding age, the kids being at that age. So I struggled but always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to run. 3 years later, I was constantly still thinking about this Super Saturday and getting inspired. And I just thought to myself, do you know what? Come on, it's time to give it another go. Football's not working for your family. You're out 6 hours a day on a Saturday, plus working Monday to Friday. It's not working. Give it another go. And I did, and I didn't put pressure on myself. I just went out and ran and had fun and just started getting fit. And obviously, in the beginning, when you're a new runner, you make big gains very quickly if you, not even if you train smart, but if you train regularly, you make big gains quickly. And I think I in the first couple of months kind of got hold of that and went, okay, I can start to see some progress, so let's just stick at it. And it just became addictive.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from. Now you bring me to a good point to ask the next question. When, during that sort of base building phase, when you were a new runner, when did you realize that you were an exceptionally fast human being?
Well, the problem I've always had is that I have to train. I think, or it feels like I have to train a lot harder than a lot of other people to get to the times that I've got to, because if you looked at me, naturally, I'm not a runner's build. So as I said, I'm 6'6". I'm ridiculously tall. My cadence, for people that know what cadence is, it's steps per minute, is stupidly low. So I'm very inefficient. And so I've just had to work at it really hard, but it got to a point where I ran my first half marathon in the March after starting in the January, and I ran a 1:44, I think.
Wow.
And it was on the trails in the forest here. And I was running 5 days a week, but I was only running 2 or 3 miles a day. But it was and the long runs on the weekend were 5 or 6 miles, and that was all I did. But it was the consistency that made me go, that's how you do it. It's not so much about volume, it's more about consistency. And even as a new runner then, not knowing anything about running, I very quickly twigged that if I could just be consistent and fit it in, but keep the run small, it would work for my family. And then at that point I went, okay, let's try again. So I raced Cardiff half marathon in the end of that year, which is a flat, fast road half marathon. And I think I ran a 1:35, and I was like, okay, we're gonna start chipping away at this. And at that point I just kind of went, I don't think I'm going to be really good, but I think I'm going to be really good at being consistent, because I can be, and I have that discipline. And I guess that's where I've led to today. I think that's so many people's downfalls. I see so many talented and incredible people that are so much better than me, but just I get really annoyed because I'm like, if you just trained a bit more consistently, you would be so good. You'd be so much better than me, because as I said, I have to work so hard to get to the fitness levels that I am. So yeah, I mean, at that point, it wasn't a case of realizing how quick I could be. It was just about realizing how the potential, if I just kept up the consistency. That was pretty much it.
Gotcha. So I don't want to spend too much time here, but you just got me so curious. Was your consistency just going out there and just running like conversation pace, or were you like lacing in some speed work, or how did that work?
The first 3-4 months, I ran every run as hard as I could, and I got really annoyed that I was not progressing. But then obviously I ran that 1:42, and then I started speaking to people about running. So when I started running, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no watch, I had no running shoes. I had my what's called Astro turf boots, so synthetic grass. I'm sure you guys have it over there. They're like football or soccer boots, but with molded studs, not metal studs. And I used to run in those, and I used to run in like basketball shorts and whatever else. I used to run at night so no one would see me, and I was really inconspicuous. I was just like, I didn't want anyone to see what I was doing, but I just go out and run hard. And I had no concept of what running easy was. I had no concept. Until just after the half marathon, when I went out the next day for a run, ran really hard and really struggled, really suffered, felt like really fatigued. And like now, I think, why would you go and run hard after a half marathon? But at the time, I didn't have a clue. So that's when I tapped into YouTube, found Sage, found the Ginger Runner, trying to learn more. That's when I found a running coach around here or the athletics club. I didn't get coached, but I spoke to a few of them, tried to pick people's brains and understand. And they're like, hey, you don't want to run hard all the time. You want to run easy a lot of the time and then run hard a little bit. And I was like, oh, that's how you do it. And then that's what I did throughout the summer. And then that's when I went and ran 1:35 in Cardiff at the end. So I think that was more of an achievement for me, kind of having that light bulb moment. I think on brute force, I ran the 1:42 or 44, whatever it was, but then I was a lot smarter in the next one.
Gotcha. Yeah, we've got a lot in common there. I was the same thing. I did all of what you're talking about, but for me, it was on a treadmill. I had a cheap treadmill that barely worked, but I pushed that thing to the max.
Yeah,
for like the first year.
We all do it, don't we? Like, because when you're a new runner, you think, I'm going to start running, and if you don't have any understanding and you have that little bit of competitive edge in you, you run hard. It's just ingrained in your brain, and it's not until you learn that you go, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't run hard. So yeah, I think so many people do exactly the same thing. Thankfully, I only did it for like 3 or 4 months, but 3 or 4 months too long, really.
Well, it's gotten you to a good place.
It worked. It worked.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to ask you just to go through some of what you consider the highlights of your running history.
Oh gosh, I think breaking 1:30 in the half marathon was a massive one for me, because I sat around 1:31 or 1:30 for like 3 or 4 half marathons on the bounce, and it was a real milestone. I think when you look at it on paper, it's just a matter of seconds, and it really doesn't matter if you're either side of each minute. It doesn't matter, but in your head, can I break 90 minutes for the half marathon? It's a big deal. And I think for me, winning that mental battle was massive. Just like going sub 18 in the 5K, that was a really big thing back when I did that. There's just been certain barriers. I've become a lot more relaxed about barriers now. Although I set myself time goals, I've become a lot more, I don't have anything in my head right now that makes me go, I want to break X or Y, but I just want to keep PBing, if that makes sense. But for sure, back then it was those two, and then more recently, last year's marathon. This year's didn't quite go to plan, but last year's marathon, running a 2:44 was just like, and I didn't look at my watch for time once until I stopped it and saw the time at the end. I was running with my friend Lee. We were just looking at, all I had on my screen was the mile splits. I had no idea what those mile splits would equate to in terms of time. I just stopped my watch and I was like, oh, wow, how did that happen? And that was all off the back of training for a mountain marathon, which never happened because of COVID, and it got cancelled. And then the flat road marathon was the only race that I could drop into, which was 2 weeks from when my mountain marathon got cancelled. So I was just clocking up 6, 8, 10K worth of vert a week leading up to that marathon, completely unspecific at all, like nothing to do with the road marathon. And I just took that training into that marathon and just ran that time. And I think that was like a wow moment, like how on earth did that just happen? And as I said, it didn't quite go to plan this year, but we had some incredible training this year. So yeah, there's definitely been some highlights for sure. That's got to be right up there as well.
Yeah, just stunning times. I mean, I love first of all, I want to state the fact that I love your attitude towards running. It's such a healthy attitude of just get out there, be consistent, do the work. You didn't say the words, but the way I read it is stay within the real possibilities. Don't let a time sort of rule you. Go out there, do your best, and you will improve. So
100%.
So, that's just a message I want everybody who's going to watch this to get, because there are a lot of people following my channel who are new runners, and they've got that same attitude. I'm going to get out there, I'm going to kill it, and I just want them to realize, take your time, you will get there. As long
Patience
as
is key. Patience is key. Consistency is key. Those two things will take you a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I do want to point out, you have an amazing marathon PB right now, as you said, 2:44. But I want to talk about your motivations going forward, what your future goals are, because I know you just started a new series on your channel where you're trying to go sub 74 for a half marathon. And I know eventually you're going to take another crack at the marathon. So
Yeah.
where do you plan to go? What are your next goals, and where is all that going to happen?
So for me, I think I'm now going to be focusing all my attention on the half marathon block. So 18 weeks worth of work for that. And I've got a couple of half marathons in September and October. So I've got like a backup one if the first one doesn't go to plan, which is a great thing about a half marathon, because you can't have a backup marathon, especially if you complete a marathon. You can't have a backup. Yeah, I think you'll do more damage than good. For me, a great lesson that I've kind of picked up along the way is to not look back, only look forwards. I had a few comments off the back of my last marathon attempt, which was 2:55, I think it was, and they were like, "Oh man, go again in 6 weeks. There's this marathon, there's this marathon," and I'm like, I just don't want to. I've put in 19 weeks of possibly the most consistent training block I've ever had, the best training. I don't want to then rest, put a couple of hard weeks in, rest. I've already detrained enough off the back of the taper. I've then run a marathon. I've then had a week rest. I've then slowly built it back up. I then don't want to do another couple of weeks. I'm not going to get in the shape that I need to for what I want to do. And secondly, I don't want to chase the goal. I think a really important message is, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It will happen at some point. Just keep believing, keep training, and then you'll get fit enough that it will just happen. So I always try and look forward. So it's going to be half marathon. After that, I don't honestly 100% know. I know that I really want to put in next year another short but 6 to 8 week mountain marathon block and tackle the mountains, because I have a real passion for trails, kind of like what Seth does. Like, he split this last year's been great for him because he split his winter over road running and his summer's going to be in the mountains, and I think that's a really healthy attitude too. I think if you want to be specific, it's not great because you need to be specific at your discipline, but he's got the freedom to go and do road then trail, and because he wants to, and that's also a really healthy attitude. So I think that's a great thing. So I'll certainly do that next year, but it will just be continuing to chip away at the PBs. A great goal here would be the London Marathon. You have good for age time, which I know you do in Boston and New York and all of that, and that's sub 2:03, but it's realistically sub 2:57. Is what they accept. Or you can get a championship spot where you're guaranteed on the start line behind the elite athletes, a sub 2:40, which is part of what I was going for before, or a 1:12:30 half marathon, or 1:12:29. So to get either of those two next year would be fantastic. I will drop in a marathon at the end of this year, but it'll be for fun, off no specific training, and just because I want to go and run a marathon. And then next year we'll dial in and see. I want to cycle through 10K training, half marathon training, marathon training. I feel like as a runner, to become a complete runner, it's great to cycle through the distances and get some really good speed work in and some big aerobic work in with the marathon, mix it all together, and I think all round you become a much stronger runner for it.
I will absolutely back up what you just said. I only discovered that concept in the last year, and the difference it's made to my longer time trials, half marathon, etc. I just can't believe what a difference it makes.
Massive.
So, well said. I want to talk a little bit about this, Andy. What type of training regimens have you found the most useful? For example, MAF training, 80-20, you name it. I want to leave it to you.
For me, I've always done, my structure has always been, so I've just started coaching. I started coaching at the beginning of the last marathon block. So I've been coached for about 20 weeks now, but for the first sort of like almost 6 years, I've pretty much, bar that first 3 months, I've pretty much stuck to 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, with a Wednesday rest and a Sunday rest, just because family, I do get tired because I have to get up super early to run. So I have in the past done 6 and 7 days as a trial, and I've just been too tired at the end of the week, and I've been useless to the family, and it's no good. So I've always found a healthy balance of dropping those 2 rest days in there, and I've always gone Monday. I used to go Monday easy, Tuesday workout, Wednesday rest, Thursday workout, Friday easy, Saturday long run. So it was kind of split half and half really, and that's kind of how I've done it. And I've always seen those 2 days that I have off, the Wednesday and the Sunday, as rest or an equivalent to an easy day. Like, you know, I'm not putting any strain in my body. Since being coached by Chris, he's enlightened me to a more specific Canova style training. Renato Canova is a very famous coach who coaches some of the best athletes in the world, and he has a much more specific approach. So if your training goal is a 3-hour marathon, for example, then, and I kind of feel like his practices only work when you've kind of broken down a lot of the first few barriers and you're ready to get specific with your training. But like a 3-hour goal, that is in minutes per mile, I don't know kilometers, but in minutes per mile, that is 6:51 or 6:52 per mile. So then what Canova would do is he'd go, right, what's 80 to 85% of that pace, what's 110% of that pace, and I'm just plucking figures out of the air here because I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but that might be 6:25, 6:30 per mile. That might also then be 7:30, 7:40, 7:50 per mile. And so the majority of your training will be done within that 85 to 100% range, with the idea that your 100% goal pace suddenly becomes a lot more easy because you're working around that. So that was what the marathon block for me was last time, working 85 to 110% of my pace range. And my word, I got ridiculously fit doing some time trials throughout. I could not believe it, and so this is all new to me, but like moving into this half marathon block, it's going to be exactly the same, and I am beyond excited to see where I end up at the end of this. So that's kind of where I'm at now with my training.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, I do have one question that I've been meaning to ask you since I watched your last marathon training block. I know you were peaking out somewhere around, I believe, 55 miles a week?
Correct, yes.
So is that a function of needing to spend more time with the family and your various other life demands? Or is that truly what you think is the perfect peak mileage for you?
I think if you have big aspirations, you have to increase your mileage. You have to look at bigger mileage over time. For me, I have for the last year sat around 50 to 60 miles a week, normally around the 55. This marathon training block just gone. I think I averaged 47, 48 miles a week, but I peaked at 55, so I actually run a little bit less.
Okay.
But I still got into the same sort of shape. I think the analogy that is great to use is that if you can run a 2:40 marathon, or if you can run a 3-hour marathon at 40 miles a week, or you can run it at 70 miles a week, think of the window of opportunity if you can achieve that at 40 miles a week, like that vast expanse that you can grow in your mileage, squeezing as much out of yourself as you can in terms of training, in terms of being specific. Whereas if you go and do it at 70 miles a week, you've kind of already opened up how do I word it? You've explored more of your capabilities by already going up to that high. So your ceiling of opportunity is closing in on you a lot quicker, whereas you've got so much more room to grow if you can achieve your goals on a smaller mileage. So over the years, I've gone like year 1, 25 miles a week, year 2, 30 to 35, year 3, 35 to 40, year 4, 40 to 45, year 5, 45 to 55. And I've just taken my time with growth. And so this half marathon training block now, after completing the marathon one, is going to be 60 miles a week. And that's where I'm going to sit. So taking that next step, hopefully getting the time that I want, but going, wow, I've run X half marathon on 60 miles a week. Oh, you imagine if I can run 100. So there's an element of family. Yeah, I can't commit to 80, 90, 100 miles a week, but I also am a firm believer that squeeze as much out of yourself as you can at the lower mileage before you step up. Plus, I feel it makes you a lot more injury proof because your body has so much time to get used to the current mileage. It just becomes normal. So when you take that small step to the next mileage, it's not really a big jump for your body, and it really doesn't take time to adapt. I'm going to touch wood and say I've suffered very few injuries in my running career.
Great to hear. Great to hear. And I just want to take the time here to say I utterly agree with everything you just said. I learned what you just said so eloquently the hard way over several years.
Yeah.
I don't want to take up a lot of time with my history, but just so that people listening understand how smart what you just said is. My history is I ran one half marathon in my life, went to marathons, stayed at marathons, ignored all the short races for years.
Yeah.
Never ran a 5K, 10K. And so I was running these huge mileages, killing myself. And in the last year, I started doing 5Ks, the 10Ks, the really hard track work with less overall mileage, like you're talking about, but squeezing as much as I can out of that less mileage with smarter workouts.
Yeah.
And I'm faster than ever now with less work. It's crazy.
It's amazing. It's like anything in life, isn't it? Is it be smarter, be smarter, not harder. So train smarter, don't train. Is that the right way of saying it? Just be smarter with your training. We all know, right? The analogy I use, and I came up with this analogy on Pancake Day 3 years ago when I cut a lemon in half and I was squeezing the lemon on the pancake, and we were getting to the end of it, and my kid came up to the counter, grabbed the other half of the lemon that hadn't been used because she was being lazy. I said, no, put that down, squeeze. We finish that one first before we move on to that one. And I went, that's a great analogy for running. Squeeze as much out of that half of the lemon before you move on to the next one. And that I have visions of lemons in my head when I'm training. Like, that's what I want to do. I want to empty that half before I move on. And it's the same, you can use that analogy on so many things. But yeah, be smart. Don't go crazy with mileage until you've accomplished what you can out of what you're doing.
Yeah, well said, sir, and absolutely the truth. With that, the only other thing I want to ask you before we kind of switch gears a little bit, I'm just kind of wondering a little bit about your cross training. What do you do, if anything?
So before COVID, I was at the gym. Being tall, my back is bad, so my posture ends up getting quite bad towards the end of a race. It tends to start off fine, but works its way down. And I realised very quickly, actually, that chucking in a couple of gym sessions a week, which I was doing 18 months ago for about 6 months, I saw massive running gains without increasing my mileage. That was another thing that was kind of like untapped, that I've tapped into. And then COVID hit, shut all the gyms. I have no motivation to do any cross training if I'm at home, but if the gym's open, I'm there. And so obviously the gyms here have recently reopened, probably about 6 weeks ago, and about 3 weeks ago I started back at the gym, and already I've noticed it's like my muscle memory, it's back. It realizes that I need to stand up tall, and so like just doing the workout. I did a workout this morning, did a workout on Tuesday. And I'm like, man, my chest feels so open, my shoulders are down, my arms are by my side and not cutting up and across and by the side and swinging like this because I'm curled over because of my back. Like, so strength training for me and cross training is not necessarily more aerobic work like cycling, but it's more strength work like the gym.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because I do a lot of strength work, and I do like a daily core routine as well. But yeah, I'm at the gym lifting weights, my home gym, 3 times a week, because at my age, that's the only way I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
But that's great. That's great. And at this point, Andy, I'm gonna switch gears to something which is hopefully a little bit more fun. Let's see here. What motivated you to start a YouTube channel?
To be honest with you, Sage, Canaday, and the Ginger Runner, just watching their videos, I was like, oh man, this is such good fun. And then going out for a run, I would just be running around, looking around, going, I live in the best place in the world to run, like in my opinion. I need to show people this. So I went to a local shop and my wife actually bought me a £30 action camera. It was so cheap, but I was able to take it out, film stuff. So I never bought a GoPro. It was one of those cheap ones first, and I just started, and I started documenting my training journey, and it was absolutely fantastic. I loved it, and yeah, it just grew from there.
That's so great. That's so great. So you took to it naturally, which I think comes across. I think that's why so many people gravitate to your channel, is because you're natural, something I'm hopefully learning slowly.
You're very good.
But I appreciate the kind words. So just to continue on with this, one of the features, I mean, I love everything about your channel. I watch every one of your videos, just to put it out
Oh,
there.
thank you.
But one of the things that I really, really appreciate about your channel is your shoe reviews, your gear reviews, but mostly shoe reviews, because you're thorough, you're brutally honest, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, it makes life easier for the rest of us who are, you know, we don't have endless amounts of money to spend, but you know, it's always nice to have, you know, what is the best. So first of all, I want to say thank you for doing those and doing them in the style that you do them.
Cool.
But,
thank you.
yeah, what motivates that, and what's your process for reviewing and for evaluating the various shoes?
So that's been a good evolution over the last sort of few years. So I reviewed some. What were they? I've got some really old ASICs or ASIC shoe reviews on my channel from back in my first year or two, just tinkering with the concept of doing shoe reviews. Like, I watched Ginger Runners and I love them. I thought I'll try a couple of those, and they were really cool. They're really good fun. But then, as time progressed, I thought to myself, I was always buying from an outlet store, getting 2 models down. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to treat myself to some really nice new shoes. So I ended up buying the Nike Zoom Flies, the original pair, a couple of years ago. And I did a shoe review on them, and it kind of blew up. And I was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And then so I got a rather jaded view of shoe reviews at that point. For about 6 to 9 months, I ended up just going a little bit crazy, spending all my money on all of the best shoes and reviewing them, because I was seeing the interaction I was getting.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love doing shoe reviews. It was a real passion, but I realized, like, I remember sitting down and my wife saying, so how many pairs have you got now? And I was like, I think I've got like 15. And how much mileage have you put in them? And I'm like, probably like 30 in most of them. And she was like, oh, what a waste. And I was like, I sat there and went, it is a real waste. It is a real waste. But at that point, I'd also started doing the fact that I saw that there was a niche in there of everyone was doing first impressions and after 100-mile reviews. And I thought that, for me as a runner, is not enough testing. Like, I don't want to see someone go out for 5 miles and that's it. I want someone to thoroughly and brutally test these shoes. Hence why I like to do first impressions, a long run test and a speed test, if applicable. And then an after 100 miles. And then after that 6 to 9 months, I went, do you know, I need to change things up a bit here. Or I've got the format. I'm happy with the extra testing I do, and I love the way that I do it. I feel it's different to others, but I'm not satisfied because I am genuinely wasting these shoes. What can I do to change this? And so many people were commenting. I remember getting a shoe to 200 miles. I can't for love nor money think what it was. And I just did a longer term review on it. And the comments went mad. It's like, oh my word, it's a shoe that's over 100 miles. We don't see this on YouTube. And I was like, there it is. That's where I want to tap into. So I dialed right back on purchasing. So this year I've bought like half the amount I bought by this time last year, because I'm trying to test more thoroughly, and I'm realizing that actually people want longer term reviews. So like you said, as a runner, if I put myself in a runner's shoes looking, I want to see how a shoe holds up. So now I'm doing after 200 miles, after 300 miles, maybe even after 400 miles on some particular shoes. So although some that I buy and test won't get much more mileage than 100 miles, and I'm happy with that. I donate those to charity. The ones that I really love, I will take further. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, it's much more relatable as a runner watching someone really hammer home. Like, everyone that watched my marathon training series knows how much I love those Brooks Hyperion tempos, and I wore them into the ground. And that, I feel, makes it so much more authentic than just buying a shoe and viewing it. So it's evolved over time. And so now it's gone from really basic shoe reviews to buying loads of shoes and doing loads of reviews and comparisons really quickly, to now refining that, doing all the testing, all the extra testing, buying less shoes, but taking them further. And so kind of that's where I want to keep going with that, just kind of keep hammering home this longer term review strategy, because I just feel that there's a niche out there in YouTube that no one's really covering.
I absolutely agree with you. And as I said before you went down that line, that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to shine a bit of a spotlight on the way you do this, because it's really, really, truly helpful.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to switch gears yet again with you now. And I'm hoping that you might have something that you can share about yourself that your regular viewers might not already know about you.
Oh, there's so many things. No, there's not. I'm quite a boring person outside of this running space. I mean, I've got 3 kids. I run 3 businesses with my wife. We work really hard. I love, outside of running, obviously I love football. I support Tottenham Hotspur, which is a horrific team to support. Don't ever support them, because they just put you through the mill. And I love to dabble with business. I've got a bit of a business head on. So over the years, I've done lots of side business projects, ventures. I'm always looking to see what the next exciting business thing might be. So right now, I'm doing a bit of buying and selling on the side. No one knows that. I don't document it, but I'm doing a little bit of flipping, shall we say. There's a lot of flipping is quite a thing at the moment. I'm enjoying doing a bit of that on the side. So that's good fun. And I love to eat. I eat a lot. And I really don't know if there's anything else I can say about myself that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, outside of running, in terms of interest, for sure, the flipping thing I've got the bug right now. I'm really enjoying doing that.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. There are a couple of people who are fellow runners that I can put you in touch with doing the same thing.
So Chris Furlong, CL Furlong, his channel. I spoke to Chris yesterday for about an hour and a quarter. We had a video chat, and he is a legend, because my channel was on 50 subscribers, his was on 22, and we found each other, and we have stuck to each other like glue over the years. We talk to each other regularly, we video chat each other, we share ideas. Like, he fired me up yesterday with how he's doing his flipping. Awesome. He is just a wonderful human being. I love him to pieces, and I hope to goodness one day, like, we can meet. We're on other sides of the world, because he's in Australia. But he's wonderful. So yeah, I mean, it's good fun to do. It really is.
That's so cool. Yeah, and I want to back up everything you said about Chris. I've interviewed him for this very channel. Yeah, and he's great. He's just so much fun. He's a great guy. Cool. I'll have to let him know that we've said so many nice things.
Yeah, he's a good chap.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, very cool. So before we get into the last of this, Andy, I want to ask you, what's your favorite piece of advice for other runners and for other YouTubers as well?
Okay, so from a running perspective, it's always going to be take the pressure off yourself, just enjoy yourself. So I started with a Casio stopwatch. Well, I started with nothing, and then I went for a whole year with a Casio stopwatch. I had none of this GPS stuff. I had no I hate data. I hate training with data. I hate using data. I use heart rate because I give it to my coach. He uses it, analyzes it, and tells me things. I don't want to know about it. I do it for him, okay. Which is fine. Like, I'm happy to do it. So I just feel like running is suddenly becoming something that it doesn't need to be. It suddenly becomes more complicated. It's like people get thrown off when their GPS goes. Like this morning on my workout, I was running on the trails back and forth doing some 200 meter and 400 meter repeats. My GPS hit a black spot, and I was running 5:10 pace for 200 meters, and suddenly I ran a 6:20 pace. It was like 46 seconds rather than 38 or something like that. And I went, oh man, my GPS is gone. And I just kept running. I couldn't give a monkeys. Whereas so many people just lose their minds with that sort of thing. Yeah. And you just like, just relax, enjoy it, and also appreciate that you can put one foot in front of the other, because there's so many people that would die to be in the position where they can run because for whatever reason they can't. I live with my wife who has had quadruple ankle ligament surgery over the past few years. She would absolutely do anything to walk pain-free on a day-to-day basis, let alone run. So that is a constant reminder to keep me grounded all the time. Like I look at her when we go out shopping, and after a couple of miles, she's really in agony, you know, and I just think, just, you know, leave all the nonsense behind and just go and enjoy it. From a YouTuber's perspective, there are I'm not full of good advice. There are plenty of channels that have grown way faster than me, way quicker. My channel's 6 years old. I've actually, last year, was obviously, as we've just alluded to, buying loads of shoes, getting lots more views, getting lots more subscribers, and averaging at 800 subscribers a month. And it was really growing well. And now I'm down to 300 to 400 subscribers a month, just because I've totally chilled out. And I'm really happy with that, because I don't want to force anything. So with YouTube, just build a connection, build a community, and be part of it, and just enjoy it. And be true to yourself with what you're putting out there. I noticed last year I was really diverting away from what I wanted. And when I started producing this marathon training series, and I started getting like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 views per video on it, I thought, wow, people want to watch my training. They used to get less than 500 views my training vlogs, and now suddenly they're doing really well. And it reignited that fire in me of actually stop buying shoes just for the sake of buying shoes. Buy shoes for a particular purpose in your training, review them well, be authentic, be original, and document your training and stick to that. And then you're making every video with a smile on your face and you're not forcing anything. And so I'm now getting less subscribers per month, but enjoying it so much more. And just with making videos, it's not about getting big quick. As I said, I've been going 6 years. It's taken me ages to get to this point, and it will continue to take me ages to keep growing, because I'm not going to chase anything down. Just love what you do. Just make the videos, smile when you make the videos, and have fun with it, because it's meant to be a hobby. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be a good laugh, and that's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful advice. And I particularly love what you said about becoming part of the community, because that's where the joy has come from for me. You know, just slowly getting the opportunity to speak with more people. And frankly, that's why I, to pat myself on the back here, that's why I love my subscriber spotlight series, because it gives me the opportunity to sit down and really get to know people who I have always found interesting, like yourself and everybody who's come before you in this series and will come afterwards. It's just, it's wonderful to get to know people who are of the same mindset when it comes to running.
We all have something in common at the end of the day, don't we? And we all are in this because we love making videos. And that's why I have such a connection with Chris. And you sound very similar yourself. Like we make videos for the enjoyment, and we've grown at different rates, granted, but we both keep plugging away and sticking at it because we just love making videos, and that passion shines through. The YouTubers that sort of come and go are the ones that go, I want to get famous, or you know, I want loads of people to watch my stuff. And then when it's really hard and it gets tough, they don't bother anymore. They throw in the towel. And you know, I think to myself, well, you've just got the wrong mindset from the start. You should just want to make a video for fun, and if someone watches it, damn, love the comment, reply if you can, say thank you for watching, thank you for giving up your time for watching my video. Like, I know I've made the video, but you're sitting down and watching it. Just be grateful, be humbled by I used to be humbled by one person watching my videos, and I'm still just as humbled now by 4,000 people. It doesn't matter the number. Someone has taken up their time, and that for me is just amazing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It's great advice on both fronts. For your advice for runners and your advice for YouTubers is just spot on. And
thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Andy, for being here, for participating in this video. It was a real thrill for me, and I just to let you know one more time how much I just enjoy your channel, how much you bring to my life when I'm out there struggling. You're one of the people. You're one of that small group that I think of, you know, and I think, well, Andy pushed through. I'm going to keep going. You know? So thank you for that. And before we go, I just want to give you the opportunity to talk about all the different places that people can find you on social media. And don't worry, I will share all that in the description below, but just to kind of give people a bigger picture and what they can find on your various different social media outlets.
Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, before I do that, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you. As I said, like, I love watching other running community members, running channels. I watch it over TV any day because it inspires me to see other people going through what I go through. We all help each other out. We all give each other motivation. I just think we're biased, but it's the best community on YouTube. It's got to be. So yeah, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. And for anyone that wants to follow my journey, again, I really appreciate you tuning in. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at FOD Runner. And on Strava, I'm down as Andrew Raynor, I can't remember, Andy Raynor, I think it is, in brackets, FOD Runner. So yeah, hopefully nice and simple, you can all find me there.
Gotcha. And everybody, just to repeat, just take a look below. I'll have all that for you right there. So again, Andy, thank you. This was a real pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm looking forward to everything that you're going to be presenting on your channel.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.